today with Deputy Director of Health for Behavioral Health, Marion Suji, and the Hawaii State Hospital Administrator, Dr. Ken Luke. Last night, an individual in our state-operated specialized residential program, or SSRP, appears to have fatally stabbed one of our employees. The employee, Justin Bautista, is a 29-year-old nurse who has been working at the state hospital for 4 years. What happened yesterday is tragic and extremely saddening. Our Department of Health, Ohana, is in mourning, and our thoughts and prayers are with Justin's loved ones. As I met with state hospital staff last night, I expressed my sincere appreciation for their dedication in continuing the important work of serving this population, all while grieving and processing what has transpired. We'll now share what we know about what transpired last night and what we're doing to keep our state hospital staff and patients safe. Because we're unable to disclose protected health information, the information we're sharing is publicly available through court records.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Kenneth Luke. I'm the Hawaii State Hospital Administrator. I'm going to apologize right up front and to say there are more questions than I have answers. There's an active police investigation going on right now. We don't know the results. We don't know when it's going to be completed. At that time, there'll be a lot more answers. But I do realize that there are going to be some questions that I want to address today for you folks. I think the public's going to want to know, how did this happen? The state has put a lot of money into mental health. There's a brand new state-of-the-art facility that opened about 2 years ago. So there's a lot of questions that I want to try to clarify, that mental health treatment in our state exists along a continuum, that the state hospital campus is only one part of that continuum, that patients will progress, their treatment will advance as they get better. We want our patients to be treated in the most appropriate level of care. And oftentimes that means sometime in the hospital and then continuing treatment in the community. What I want to describe is the suspect in question was treated at Hawaii State Hospital. He's actually had a history of being treated on multiple occasions and did show a response to treatment. He was able to transition back into the community successfully before. And on this time, once again, in August of this year, he was able to transition out. Now, the community might say, well, with the high census at the hospital, is there some pressure to move people out, move them out inappropriately from the hospital to the community? And I want to assure the community that that is not the case. We have well-qualified doctors, well-qualified nurses that do a clinical assessment of people who are ready. This includes looking at their behavior over a period of time, their acceptance of medication, how they cope, how they get along with others. And in this case, the patient in August did appear to be ready for discharge. In addition to our treatment teams, the courts actually issue permission for somebody to move out of our hospital. And before the courts issue that permission, they appoint a panel of examiners, independent examiners, not affiliated with the hospital, to examine, to look at the risks, to ascertain whether somebody can move on. And that's what happened in this case. And the examiners were unanimous that the patient was ready to move on. We can move patients from Hawaii State Hospital to a whole variety of locations. Many times they can go back to their families. Sometimes they go to group homes. And sometimes, when we want to be especially cautious, they go to what's called a specialized treatment facility. And that's where this patient was put. It was called our SOSRP, State-Operated Residential Program. Let me repeat that. State-Operated Specialized Residential Program. And this program offers 24-hour supervision and treatment that occurs during the day. And he was successfully there for 3 months before this happened. We reviewed it. Again, the answers are forthcoming. Investigation is ongoing. But for now, we do not, we did not see evidence that this was going to happen. This seemed to be an unanticipated and unprovoked incident. The nurse who lost his life, a good man, well-respected, well-loved by everybody who knew him, is a great loss to our organization. Now to move on, the hospital is designed to support transitions of care. It's designed to get people from the most acute level of care to stabilize them and then to provide them psychosocial rehabilitation so they can eventually re-enter successfully into the community. The new patient facility that we all have heard about, approximately 150 beds. That's where we do acute stabilization. Highly secure, highly staffed. This patient started off there. As they improve, they will progress through the continuum, and we have units, we call it the lower campus, that provides inpatient psychosocial rehabilitation. And a patient has to qualify through behavior, through treatment acceptance, that they are ready to move from that new building to the lower campus. Still secure, but more focused on psychosocial rehabilitation and community reintegration versus stabilization. So the patient was able to succeed there, and then after a time, earned transition to the SOSRP. At that time, he was no longer a Hawaii State Hospital patient. He was a former patient, still on our campus. You'd say, how come? Isn't the whole campus the hospital? No, we have a continuum of care. As as I had mentioned, there's a continuum of care throughout the community. There's a mini continuum of care on the Hawaii State Hospital campus. There's a new patient facility. There's a lower campus that focuses on psychosocial rehabilitation. There's that specialized treatment facility, SOSRP, that's a step down. Again, supervised living, day programming. There's 3 group homes on our campus. They're not under the management of Hawaii State Hospital, but they are part of our campus. So a mini continuum, and patients progress on there. This is so people who are ready to leave the hospital, but maybe not quite ready to go in the community, we can safely discharge them, but yet keep them on our campus. So with that said, I want to make sure that I've been clear, and I'm going to return it to Dr. Fink, but I'd be happy to entertain any questions afterwards. Thank you very much.
When we learned of the event, we learned that staff that were on site immediately had responded to secure the situation and make sure that the staff and the patients were safe. When Deputy Director Marion Suji, Administrator Dr. Luke, and I arrived, we met with all the staff that were on the campus at that time to check on them, provide our support, and give them information about the Hawaii Cares Line and also the Employee Assistance REACH program. I want to take this time to also, again, express my appreciation for the staff who are processing the event that occurred while ensuring that the ongoing operations continue. So my gratitude to them. As far as next steps, in addition to the clinical review that occurred, we're doing a safety review as well. We'll be reviewing all policies and procedures to ensure safe operations for staff and patients alike. During this time, we're also providing additional emotional support for both staff and patients. I'd like to reiterate our commitment to a robust mental health system and entire continuum. Mental health and substance abuse can be chronic conditions with relapses, and our mental health system requires a continued investment in the full continuum of care to ensure that individuals determine if they're suitable for a different level of care. So for him to have been in that level of care required that multiple clinicians determine him to be appropriately cared for in that setting. And again, we're conducting a clinical review just to make sure that those processes work correctly.
Can you just give us the patient census and how much is staffing as well as how much you're short staff?
For the SOSRP program, there are spaces for 22 residents. I was informed that last night there were 21 residents. There are 5 staff on at a time, including 4 psych techs and 1 nurse. And last night we were fully staffed. That program is fully staffed for that patient population.
And so nothing could have been done to prevent this, is what you're saying?
I'm saying at this time we are committed to a safe environment for both staff and patients. And we're doing a thorough review to see if there's an opportunity to see how we can improve patient and staff safety.
So no idea on how he was able to get that weapon. Are they allowed off campus, these residents, these transitional facilities?
Great. I'll pull up Dr. Luke. So why don't you talk about part of the transition and programming and how access off the site. Thank you.
It's a good question, and thank you. To clarify, that the new patient facility, that new building, the security is state-of-the-art. The other parts of the hospital, high security. The specialized treatment facility, which is not part of the hospital, even though on the grounds, is not considered a hospital. It's considered more of a group home. Therefore, the security procedures are not robust like the hospital. But it's a good question.
So they can leave?
They can. The hospital patients cannot. But the individuals residing in the SOSRP can earn privileges to go off campus. It's not secure. You can walk off of that campus. But you can earn it. The patient was stable, as I had said. He had earned that right to go off campus and actually had done so yesterday afternoon, gone off campus and come back.
So possibly could have got it by leaving.
Correct. I don't know that, but correct.
Dr. Luke, will the transitional housing need or get more attention to enhanced security following this incident?
Yes, and this is a tragedy. But if this tragedy stops individuals from being transitioned to the proper level of care, if it ends up with people being left to be institutionalized at Hawaii State Hospital, then it's a double tragedy that we cannot let this get in the way of appropriate transitions. But with that said, Dr. Fink has said he's ordered a top-down safety review. How can we do this as safe as reasonably possible? We believe that the safety protocol was there, but like you had said, maybe there's enhancements that need to be considered, and that is going to be what we look for.
For Dr. Luke or Dr. Fink, has something like this ever happened before where an employee on the campus has, been killed on the job?
No, not to our knowledge.
Is there anything that you're doing immediately while this review is going on to prevent any sort of, other incidents? I don't know. Are you on high alert? In other words,
So we've moved a quarter of the patients in that SOSRP elsewhere. So we've reduced the census. We've increased the staffing. We've done what you might call a safety stand-down, that the operations have to continue, but anything non-essential is being put on pause. We've conducted a safety committee, a work group, to examine every administrative and clinical policy to make sure that we're not missing anything. And that's going to continue for 48 hours. And I do want to add, on top of the safety stand-down, we've made taking care of the emotional needs of our staff and our patients the highest priority going forward for the next several weeks until we get through this.
Where were those patients moved?
We moved them to another program on our campus, a supervised group home as well.
And you said staffing increased as well?
Correct.
People in what types of positions?
I'm sorry.
Oh, you said you had temporarily increased staffing also?
Yes. So we're, on average, 5 staff members per day shift and evening shift, and 3 on nights. We're trying to bump that to 7 during the day and evening, and 5 at nights. And again, this is at a reduced census because we moved patients off.
So patients for 48 hours won't be able to go off campus, is that part of the safety stand-down?
You know, we have not made that. We've not made that rule.
And if I could just ask, when you hear some speculation or reports that the specific suspect was moved prematurely because of lack of bed space to these facilities before it was, he was ready, does that upset you, anger you, or what do you think about that?
I know it to be false. I said that the clinical teams are highly responsible, the courts are conservative, and their independent examiners are independent. It doesn't anger me so much as it disappoints me that mental illness is stigmatized enough already. And I think any other medical condition, we would believe that these conditions are treatable, that they can be made better, that people can recover to some extent to live a purpose-filled life. But yet with mental illness, I think that stigma is still there. And I hope this tragedy doesn't become a double tragedy. So where our patients are, and again, I don't want to make it about, this isn't about reducing stigma. That's not what I meant to do here. But I am hoping that this tragedy doesn't lead to some reduction or some limitation on people advancing through their care and moving through the continuum. So more disappointed than angry.
Can you tell us how many inpatients the hospital has right now?
325.
And what is the total capacity?
We have gone with 297, but we've temporarily gotten permission to go to 350. So we're over the 297 that historically has been our license, but everybody's in a bed, everybody is staffed.
And is that figure for the main facility, or does that include the lower campus homes and other facilities?
Only the hospital proper. So when I talk, it means the new patient facility and the lower campus, but it doesn't include the SOSRP, where this had happened, and the group homes, the 3 group homes that are on our campus. We actually consider that separate from the hospital. These are for patients who are discharged.
The brand new building and the lower campus.
Correct.
Are there security guards on the campus?
Yes.
How many? Where are they?
They're positioned in many places. I cannot tell you exactly how many, but I would say there's at least 17 to 20 every shift. They're positioned near every unit. They are positioned during the metal detectors and the entry to the secure buildings, but they're not assigned to any of the group homes, and they're not assigned to the SOSRP that we've been talking about.
Are you considering changing that?
It's on the table, yes.
Dr. Luke, according to the most recent Hawaii State Hospital annual report, assaults on workers went up. What more needs to be done to maybe prevent this and workers?
We actually believe the hospital has been made safer since the opening of the new patient facility, that assaults are down, or at least the seriousness of those assaults are down. So what you may be looking at are assaults that are anytime somebody is making contact with one of our staff, we count it. But we actually believe the hospital is being made safer. Unfortunately, the census is something that worries me. There's only so crowded we can be before it does become a safety issue. But it's on our radar. We're trying everything we can to reduce the census. But again, I hope that's evidence to the public that we're not just throwing patients out. Even though we're over census, we're not opening the doors and being irresponsible and putting people back in the community. We would rather be over census and deal with that than to put somebody out who we knew in our heart should not have been discharged.
Dr. Luke, with regard to the assault statistics, would those incidents that are counted not include anything at the group homes and the SOSRP?
Correct, would not.
Well, is there any data for that in terms of how often assaults happen at the SOSRP?
Yeah, that data would be available, but not at my fingertips.
Can you tell us who's on the panel who makes the decisions about when patients are able to be moved into other steps of therapy?
There's a cadre of providers. One psychiatrist, to my knowledge, several psychologists that work independently of the hospital. These are all forensically certified professionals trained to look at not only clinical stability but clinical risk.
How many people are on the panel?
It changes, but let me say roughly 6.
I'll take one more question. I just have a clarification. So the hospital itself, you believe the new hospital is becoming safer, but the group homes and the transitional housing program wasn't part of that, I guess, increased safety aspect is what you're saying, right? And is that what you're reevaluating?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
One more question? That was a clarification. So one more question, how's that?
So two. Could you describe a difference between the SOSRP and maybe some other facility out in the residential, community? Is there another level after the SOSRP that somebody might graduate to?
If you think about the continuum, psychiatric hospitalization, the next step down in supervision is the SOSRP. There are group homes out in the community, some with very little supervision, some with 8 hours where staff is present. The SOSRP, 24 hours, there's a staff member there. On top of that, why it's a specialized treatment facility and not just a group home is they provide day programming. So it's room and board plus treatment all in one place. And then finally, to answer your question, it's on our campus. So if you're familiar with our campus, it's not that close to residential properties. So it's not like a group home that you'd be surprised where some of these group homes are. Yeah, they're just right in the middle of the neighborhoods. You may not even notice they're there. But this group home is on our campus, away from the community. It's sort of a bridge for people who don't need the hospital, but we wanted to give them a small step to get ready to go back into the community.
This suspect had been accused of assaulting a state hospital employee years before. Was that taken into consideration when considering that he should be moved?
Yes, It was.
Or was there any consideration that he might need more supervision because he had this particular history?
That's, again, the treatment team, the independent examiners, but I believe that was one of the reasons why when he was determined ready to go to Hawaii State Hospital, he went to the SOSRP and not directly placed back in the community.
Well, thank you, everybody, again.